Saquon won't sign the tender. Is this a big deal or no big deal?
No, it's not a big deal. You just mentioned, right, July 17th is the deadline. There's nothing happening, Molly, between today and September. They're not playing any football. And this is not last year with a new staff. If it was last year with a new staff coming in and he had to learn a new game plan and understand the run fits and the protection and the scheme and all those sort of things, then you kind of are a little hesitant and would like to have him in there. But since he's already been there, it's not that big of a deal. It's a big deal to people like us because we're looking at it and saying, well, he should be there in the money and all those sort of things. Look, at the end of the day, there was two things that could have happened here. It's like being on a nice merry-go-round, and there's contracts on that merry-go-round. There's one for Daniel Jones, and there's one for Saquon Barkley. And that merry-go-round is going to go, it's going to stop at Barkley, it's going to stop at Daniel Jones. Who's going to grab it first? Okay, Daniel Jones decided, I'm going to grab it first, so that keeps going. And then he gets tagged with it right now. It happens that way in the National Football League where you got two players that they want to keep that are up for contracts, and they only got one franchise tag. So if Daniel Jones takes the tag, then the Saquon Barkley takes the deal. That's all it is. It's not that big of a deal. He's missing 0 football time at all. And in the offseason, as Teddy knows, nobody wants to be in offseason conditioning, in OTAs, voluntary workouts, maybe some teams in California, maybe the Las Vegas Raiders, maybe Miami Dolphins, and that's about it.
Teddy?
Yeah, Key's right. I mean, it's business season, basically. I agree with him. Saquon really doesn't have a work ethic that you'd be worried about if he missed the entire offseason program. You know he's going to be out there. He'll post social media videos where he's squatting 600 pounds or whatever. He'll be ready to go. I think a lot of his teammates won't be worried about that either. Where this continues to go is another deal in terms of Saquon's going to want some financial stability. I don't know if he's going to get that, the way where Brian Daboll's from, what the emphasis on the quarterback position is. Their playoff win versus the Minnesota Vikings when Daniel Jones was responsible for over 85% of the yards, I think 367 plus yards. It was Daniel Jones. And this is going to be a quarterback, centric offense. The last running back really to be emphasized in terms of salary, I think, and scheme is Derrick Henry. And they don't see Saquon Barkley like Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is one where he's our identity. He's the one that's going to get the ball on whenever we can possibly give it to him in critical situations. And with that, we will pay him accordingly. This is a position not of need. I believe the New York Giants see it as one where they need 2, possibly 3 players at that position to be productive. It's going to be on Daniel Jones, how they build around him. And Saquon, is it his last year in New York? I don't know. Do they work out a deal? But that's the way this staff and Brian Daboll probably sees this position with Saquon Barkley.
I'm not here to refute a single syllable of what either of y'all said. I appreciate the breakdown. I defer to y'all. Y'all know what the hell y'all are talking about. Damn it, that's why you on First Take. But allow me to spin this just a different way, okay? I want to say this. You better not lose Saquon Barkley. I'm not one of those dudes that just look at him and say, well, you know what? It's the running back position. They come, they go, blah, blah. No, this is Saquon Barkley. He's 25 years of age. He's a stud. Just finished a 1,300-yard season, averaged nearly 4.5 yards a carry. We know how elusive, how electrifying he can be. Here's my biggest thing, guys. Let me read these names to you, especially you, Key, wide receiver extraordinaire, former #1 overall pick for the New York Jets. Give him the damn ball. Let me ask you this, Keyshawn. Isaiah Hodgins. Name familiar to you?
Yeah, receiver out of Oregon State. Their main target.
Yeah, is he I? Is he I?
He's a 2.5 to a 3.
Okay, 2.5 to a 3. See, I'm asking. Notice, Teddy, I'm not presuming anything. I'm asking. I'm asking the experts. Paris Campbell, that came over from Indianapolis.
Paris Campbell can run. He may have been a little underutilized at Indy. He may be underutilized.
Underutilized by Frank Wright?
Well, by whoever. He wasn't.
Right. That was the coach.
He's a guy. He's just a guy that can run.
Okay. All right. And last but not least, Wan'Dale Robinson. I mean, can you tell me something about him real quick?
Yeah, we see where you're going. Yeah.
They have to go get DeAndre Hopkins, man. Call it a day.
All right. Now, you know me well enough to know that sometimes I ask loaded questions. See, I know the answer to these damn questions, but I was going to ask anyway to give myself cover from the brothers who know. My two brothers. They don't have anybody else other than Saquon. I said it earlier, and I'll say it again to Molly.
Oh, here
they
we
got,
go.
They got Saquon Barkley and a bag of chips. That's what they got as an offense, okay? Now, Daniel Jones, you want to throw him out there, and he had won a playoff game because he's at the quarterback position. I think he was covered tremendously so by the coach of the year, Dable himself. I love him. I get all of that, and he will only get better, but he ain't there yet. 15 touchdown passes. That's all he threw last year. Relatively pedestrian from the quarterback position, but elevating, trending in the right direction. We get all of that. Saquon Barkley is the talent on the offensive side of the ball. You can't just lose him, and I'm not saying they're going to. I'm just saying my whole point was he's important. Let's not act. Because I was arguing with Molly in the before. Let's not just act like he's just some other dude.
Stephen A.
He's not just some other dude. He's Saquon.
Are you saying because of the talent or because the brand name they need a star name?
I'm saying because of the talent. Saquon Barkley is a stud. You don't have a lot of talent around him. Right. Having him to be concerned with helps your offense. You don't lose him. That's all I'm saying.
No question. He's one of the top 3 backs in the league. There's no question about it. The offense is way better. Daniel Jones is a better quarterback with Saquon Barkley. They're not going to lose him. Stephen A. It's a negotiation.
No.
That's all it is.
Should Houston draft a quarterback, trade down, or do something else?
You know, I don't think that they should draft a quarterback. I think they should do something else to trade down. When you look at this situation, DeMeco Ryans is a defensive coordinator by trait. You think about the San Francisco 49ers, and you know this, Mel. Well, how do they function? They function with, I don't want to call them pedestrian quarterbacks, but less than Hall of Fame type quarterbacks. They function with solid defenses. And when you look at the situation in Kyle Shanahan, hey, he can win with any type of quarterback, no question about it. Look what he did with Matt Schaub many years ago in the Houston situation when he was there as the offensive coordinator. He made Matt Ryan an MVP. He took the teams to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. So when you understand those sort of things, defensive-minded coaches like defense. They don't care about the quarterback position. They want to run the football. They want to play solid defense. And when you have guys like Jalen Carter or Will Anderson right there sitting there, maybe you take that. Or you move down because you feel like you can get some more draft capital, and then you could figure out how, if you want to get back up and get a quarterback, or you look to next year's draft class and say, okay, we can push David Mills as far as we can go with him, give him some time to see if he can develop. And if it doesn't work out, we got enough draft capital, and we'll have some next year based on Cleveland's situation. We can always get a quarterback. I think building the roster is more important because I don't see any of these quarterbacks right now as like, I don't know, long-term, super 10, 15-year answers for a top 5 type situation.
Go ahead, Mel.
Wow, Key. Yeah, that's surprising, Keith. You said I think quarterback is obviously the critical position. You're spinning your wheels if you don't have one. And they build the roster. The Jets have a great roster, but they didn't have the quarterback, and they didn't make the playoffs. So this is a team that had that great defense and all those things, and now they got Aaron Rodgers possibly coming in. So if you can get a quarterback at 2 who you have maybe the number 1 guy, maybe C.J. Stroud could be that guy, with Bryce Young being an outlier because of his size. Maybe Anthony Richardson's your guy. Maybe it's Will Levis. What you're telling me is, Key, they don't like any of the 3. So it's not, if Bryce Young is going to go number 1 like we think, there's 3 quarterbacks sitting there. The Houston Texans need one, but they're going to pass on them thinking, well, we're going to be bad next year, so we'll get Caleb Williams from USC or Drake May, North Carolina, or Michael Penix Jr., Washington. I don't think teams think that way. You can't go into a season thinking to be one of the top worst 2-3 teams in the league. So for me, C.J. Stroud, you can pair him at 12 with Jackson Smith and Jigba wide receiver, just like Burrow and Chase, just like Devontae and Hurts, just like Tua and Waddle. You can do the exact same thing. You have a pick at 33. That's a high pick. That's an early 2. It's basically almost an elite guy you can get, like a Felix Uzama, a pass rusher out of Kansas State. So there's ways beyond the second pick to help the defense key. I'm with you on that. They need an edge guy, but to get C.J. Stroud and Jackson Smith and Jigba added to that offense moving forward with Stroud, who's the youngest of the quarterbacks in this draft. Okay, so I would be shocked if they don't take a quarterback at 2.
Mel Kiper, I'm completely with you. Keyshawn, I'm shocked at what you said. I will tell you, according to the scouting reports, biggest needs for the Houston Texans, quarterback, a wide receiver, and obviously an edge rusher. That's what everybody's been talking about. And I love the analogy that Mel brought up in terms of the New York Jets, because when you look at their roster, the New York Jets have the talent. But what was the problem? They drafted Zach Wilson, and he has been a catastrophe, okay? I mean, it's getting to the point where you're almost mentioning him in the same breath as Ryan Leaf. No disrespect. I'm talking about Ryan Leaf, the football player, not turned his life around. I mean, God bless him. But as a football player, you went Peyton Manning, Ryan Leaf, we understand that. You look at Zach Wilson, people starting to talk about him in that light because that's how much of a disappointment he is. Now, what do we have? We have a situation in Houston. You got a guy in your quarterback room, it's David Mills, 5-19-1 as a starter. And the backup is Case Keenum, who's been to 8 different teams in the last 9 years. You've got to get a quarterback. And here's the only thing that brings into question what you're saying, Key, if you were to go away from a quarterback, is if you don't believe in any of them. If you don't believe in any of them, that they all garbage.
But that's one of the main reasons.
But Bryce Young.
But look, that's one of the main reasons Adam just said everything is on the table, because we're unsure at the quarterback position. Everything is on the table.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this. Zach Wilson, there was a question mark and stuff like that. You got a lot of quarterbacks. But when you think about Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, of course they come to – but these are guys that have been hyped coming out of college. I mean, all of them are big-time college football players.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of.
You got to take
Stephen
one of them.
There's a lot of quarterbacks, and Mel's been covering this thing for 1,000 years, that come out with a lot of hype at the quarterback position. My only thing in this situation is you got to look at DeMeco Ryans in thought process and defensive coordinators in their minds. What is the thing that Tony Dungy did when he got to Tampa Bay? He completely said, defense. This is what we need to do. We need to build on the defensive side of the ball. You look at Mike Tomlin, first-time head coach, his first draft pick, and Mel knows this, defense. That's just what they do.
When you think about, you take the quarterback, and then after you take the quarterback, everything else focuses on defense. You got a quarterback.
That's the way you think, because you're not a defensive coordinator. What do offensive coordinators do? The first thing they draft is an offensive playmaker. That's just what they think. That's how they think.
Mel, can I throw something at you? Because Dan Orlovsky just texted me this. He can see Houston taking Richardson. He said they'll not draft Stroud if Bryce goes 1. To that you say what?
Well, Richardson's got a ton of talent. We know that. He just has to have a quarterback in place. And if Davis Mills is their guy, then they move forward with a year with Davis Mills. Anthony Richardson is not ready to be a starting quarterback in this league, and particularly for a team that needs help in terms of the infrastructure around the quarterback. So I wouldn't have a problem with it because Davis Mills is there. And if so they go Richardson, my point was I would be shocked if they don't take a quarterback, Stroud being the guy there. Levis is my second highest rated quarterback. Not taking him. Everybody hates Levis but me. But the thing is, if you're not, like he said, don't take a quarterback. I think they have to take a quarterback at 2. I don't care who it is. One of the 3 has to be a Texan.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.